Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Native Women Association of Canada's Self-Learning video series. Bonjour, kakiau. Kiwi komitena wa uma. Chuita pemiahuta Native Women Association of Canada snikate uma. Self-learning video series. Harriet St. Pierre de Schnickbachon. My name is Harriet St. Pierre. I am an elder language keeper. And vie kukumnia la lango maganawechten. Your keywords and phrases from the Michif language in this instructional video. Kishna matinawa uma tanchi chishipik shkweyek amichif uma dale video kawustachik. I am going to show you how to produce indigenous music. Kwikshna matina wow. Tanchi shoma la music chushistaya. Ekwa namoya dayan ke koi huta chi violon. The violin was the most important thing in a Métis family home back in my days. Violon, toutes les maisons, kai toute ek, epitikwe dali Michif, si maison wow. Kawapaten violon akotek dalamiroin. You'll see a violin hanging on the wall in every home, in every Métis home that you walk into back in my days. Gimiöhtenan mana enat tawaya cook li vieux ekitos chik li violon. We used to be so very happy to hear our elders, especially the men in every home, playing the violin. Occasionally, some young men would have a guitar, but as far as I can remember, I think there was only one guitar in the valley where I was born. I was born in Coupelle Valley. I grew up there. I can only remember seeing one guitar all the time I lived over there. Mana, we used to be so happy, mana, kitos chik bapainan. I remember one time my dad was sitting there playing the violin, and us kids are just running around all over. And his brother, Uncle John, come in the door. And I was, I think, about 9 years old, I guess. And Uncle John, that's my dad's brother. I think he went crazy when he heard my dad playing the violin, because the minute he walked in the door, he walked in dancing. And he was so cute because he was short, chubby, and had little crooked arms. When he walked like so, and he walked like that when he was walking around, and then he come in, he was singing, Hamori alifekait mavia, and he's jumping around, dancing around my dad while my dad was playing violin. And my dad didn't even take notice. He just continued playing the violin, but us kids, we were laughing and ran out the door. But that was so cute. That's one thing I will never forget when it comes to music. The one thing that I worry about is a dance collar, square dance collars. We used to have a lot of square dance collars, and they would, hurry up, boys, and hurry up, girls, you're going to be late, and swing your partner, do like that. They would, the square dance callers would call out like that, and that used to be so great. And now they have all passed away. We don't have any more square dance callers. My sister-in-law, Jean Pelchi, said she knows how, but I have never, all the dances that we've been to, I never heard her calling square dance. So I didn't know that she knows how. She said she does, and if she does, she should pass it on to the younger generation, because I would sure hate to lose that. That is something that's that can tell that we are Métis people. What we used to do when we were teenagers is we used to, like, we lived on the Métis property, or what do you call it, road allowance. We were living on the road allowance, and the river separated us from the Indian reserves. There was 3 Indian reserves across the river, and they used to have big homes, but us Métis people, our homes were all small. So once we would find out that so-and-so had a big house, we would ask them if we can borrow their home to make a dance, because we would love to have a dance. And they would say, sure, if you haul out the furniture to the shed and bring them back in after the dance. Oh, of course, we would do that. And they were so nice to let us have their home for the night, and that they would even make sandwiches and juices. They gathered up, all the teenagers gathered up, and they came to our house, my mom and dad's place, and somebody knocked on the door and asked, can Harriet come with us? We're going to the dance across the river. We're going to a dance. My dad says, you and her and who else? And he says, she can't go by herself with you. And he says, no, he says, there's a whole bunch of us going. So here the rest of the teenagers have been hiding behind the house at home. But then when he said there's a bunch of us going, they all showed up. I think they were afraid of my dad. And my dad said, oh, I see, okay, sure, she can go. So we started off, this was in the winter time. We started walking down the road. Oh, there must have been about 12 of us, something like that. And then we had to cross the river. But we were kind of afraid to cross the river because we gaputa kuchininan in the ice. We might fall in the ice, fall in the water if the ice is not thick enough. So we made a human chain. We're holding each other's hand. And this guy named Jackie, he was in the front. And he had a pole on his hand. And he would check the ice, pounding the ice, to see if it was thick enough for us to cross without falling in. So we try this one place, and when he stepped onto the ice, utakuchin in the water. The water was so cold, and he went right up to his thighs into the water. And we pulled him out because we had a human chain, and we pulled him out, and now he had a hard time walking because his jeans was frozen stiff, and it was hard for him to bend on the knee. And we laughed at him so much, and he wasn't too pleased about it. So we went on a little further and tried there again, and we could see the light across the field, the coal oil lamp light at the house that we were going to dance in. And we tried another place, and there we made it. We crossed the river, the Shukanan La Rivière, and then we went across the field, the Shukanan Umalishan, straight for the light of that house. And we went in, but he went straight upstairs because they had a little pot-belly stove upstairs with wood in it, and they had a pretty good fire going upstairs. That's where the family went while we danced downstairs. They had like about 5 little boys, I guess, and so they took their little boys upstairs out of our way because we were going to use the whole main floor. So we hauled out the furniture into the little shed, and we started playing the violin. We danced lots. We danced just about all night. And here my dad had told those people, yes, she can go, but make sure she's home by around 1 o'clock. But we continued dancing through 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And man, oh man, the sun was coming out. In the morning. So we did our last dance, and it was a human chain. We all held hands, and we had to follow the leader. And the leader went dancing out the door and around the house. And I was at the bottom of that chain, that human chain, and going around the corners of that house. I was flying so fast, I was just about falling on my face. And we had so much fun. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So we come home, walking home with the sun shining bright the next day. When we got home, my dad was not very pleased, but I made sure that I didn't walk in alone. The rest of the group who lived further down came to the door with me, and that way my dad seen that I was not alone. And so they went on to their home too. But this is what I mean. We did that a lot. We went to dances in the Indian reservation down there, and they were all very, very nice people. All of them always used to prepare a little luncheon for us dancers. So we were very grateful to them. We did a lot of square dances, foxtrots, slow waltz, all kinds of dances like that, and jigging. Marie Chantal and her family, like her brother John was a great square dance scholar. Oh, he was a good square dance scholar. And Marie and her sisters were very good jiggers. They could jig. Even to this day, Marie can still jig at her age. Marie Chantal, She's my cousin. Her dad is her mom and dad are my godparents. And I just happened to have a picture of them, but I couldn't find a picture of them playing the violin. But I just wanted to show you they're out trapping furs, and they had just skinned the animals that they had trapped. And this is them here in this book. I don't know. Yeah, there, you see, they have fur skins with them there. But they were very good fiddlers. They played the violin like I used to go and stay with Marie Chantal, with my godparents. Many a times when I was younger, before I even started school, I would go stay at their house and 4 or 5 days, and then go back home when I was 4 or 5 years old. There's a song that I would like to sing for you. I'm not a very good singer, but I like singing. When I was raising my children, I raised them when we were in Burnaby, BC. When they were all little, we moved to Burnaby, BC, and I raised my children out there. And every morning, as soon as I'd get up and start preparing their breakfast and that, and I'd be walking up and down the hall singing, and my kids would say, "Oh, Mom, turn the radio on." I said, "No, I love singing. If you don't like it, then just plug your ears." So then I'd holler to them time to get up. They still remember that when my daughter got her teacher's degree. I had already moved back to Saskatchewan, and she stayed back in BC. She went to Vancouver University, and then she went to ITEP in Vancouver, BC. And when she got her certificate for teaching, we all went, her brothers and sister, we went to her graduation. It was so emotional, so nice, because I raised the 6 children by myself. They were all 13 months apart. And I raised them by myself without their father. So I am so proud of myself that I had done such a good job raising them. They all have careers. I have 2 school teachers amongst my 6. One is a welder, the other one is a carpenter, and my one girl worked for Walmart all her life. She just retired. She just retired last year. That's enough about talking about my life. Actually, I'm gonna sing you a song. I picked up this song when I was invited to go to a First Nation gathering, and I heard this lady sing this song, and I thought it was such a beautiful song that I wrote it down as she was singing in Michif. And so when I got home, I wrote it out better. So I'd like to sing it for you. And it says, Kishpin Kishakihin Shemak Kochemin. Now that's the chorus. And that means, if you love me, kiss me now. And that is on every third line here. So, and then I'm going to sing Uh, we'll ride by car to Fort Coupel. If you love me, kiss me now. So on like that. So I'm going to say, Kispin kisakihin sema coachemin automobil katipusinan Fort Capel kaispisyonan Kispin kisakihin sema coachemin Lifizi katawanan liliev kinipahanan Kispin kisakihin Sema cochemin la rababu kausitanan la galat kamichinan kispin sakihin sema cochemin epchimeson katawanan les enfants kayawanan kispin sakihin Shema Kawikimin. And that is, I'm saying, if you love me, kiss me now. We'll ride by car to Fort Coupel. If you love me, kiss me now. We'll carry rifles and shoot rabbits on the way. If you love me, kiss me now. We'll make and eat rabbit stew and bannock. If you love me, kiss me now. We'll buy a little house and have children. If you love me, marry me now. So that's what the song is all about. I think that was so cute. And when I was working for St. Mary's School, St. Michael's School in Saskatoon, I worked for the school board for many, many years since 1984. But I tried to teach the younger children the Michif language. And I found that they learned faster if it was a song. And I wanted to pick a song that had pretty well the same words all the way through the chorus. So that way, repeating the song over and over, the same words over and over again, that they would learn quicker, and they did. And I made them sing the song that goes this way. Giwa pamananan pul, giwa pamananan pul, giwa pamananan pul, si etwet, cluck, 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 cluck. Giwa pamananesye, giwa pamananesye, giwa pamananesye, si etwet. Woof, 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 woof. Giwa pamananan vash, giwa pamananan vash, giwa pamananan vash, si etwet. Moo, 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 moo. So that's how it went. And repeating the words over and over again, we could sing this song until all the animals, the farm animals, are gone. You can use all the animals, providing you know how they sound when they make a noise, like a cat is giwa pamanan minos, giwa pamanan minos, giwa pamanan minos, si etwet. Meow, 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 meow. So that is how I did it with the school children, the little ones. They were easy to teach in Michif that way. So when I was retired from the Board of Education, I was given the Indian Friendship Center building, and I was teaching adults the language Michif language. And they were workers, and they'd work all day, and they'd come to the Friendship Center when they were done work, and I'd always have like maybe a pot of soup and a toast or French fries or sandwich, just something simple. And then we would eat supper, and then we would do our schoolwork. And I started off with 4 students, and I wound up with 12, 13 by the time the end of the teaching came along. I was getting government funding for that. Well, not me, but someone else had hired me because they got funding for the Michif language. And so when the funding ran out, we had to quit, and my students were very unhappy about that. It was Métis people that didn't know the language but wanted to learn how to speak. And I remember when I would say a word, and I heard this little old lady further out, and I'd hear her saying, "Oh yeah, I remember." Well, and I thought, what's so at the time we had a break, I went and I spoke to the old lady and asked her, "Gosh, how old are you?" And she said she was 90 years old, and that her grandchildren had brought her over because she heard about this Michif language schooling that was there, and how she wanted to come back and try and learn her language again. She told me that when she was a little girl, from the time she was born, she and her parents and everyone else in the house spoke Michif. When she was about 6 years old, I guess they came and they took her away, put her into boarding school. And in boarding school, she could not speak her mother tongue. It had to be English, and she didn't know a word of English. But she said she really had a hard time, and she got a few scoldings from the nuns because she wouldn't speak English. And all the time she was in school, and when she was in grade 8 and left school, she went straight to work for a farmer and continued speaking English. And then when she worked for the farmer, I don't know how many years, I forget how many years she said she worked for the farmer, but anyway, she met her husband there who was white, and they married and they moved away, and he was white man, so she continued speaking English. And now she hears me speaking Michif, and the odd word she would remember, it would wake up when she hears the word that I'm saying, and that's when she would say, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." And then she was telling me how nice it was to hear her mother tongue again after all those years when she was just a little child. It still was in the back of her mind, just needed somebody to speak it to wake up her Michif language in her mind. And she says to the rest of the students, she says, "You know, all of you students, you better value this lady who's teaching you how to speak Michif, because she's really teaching you 3 languages in one. The languages are Cree, Soto, and French." She said, "That is what makes Michif," she said. And I also explained to the students that day that unless you can speak the language, that is what calls you a dedicated, honest to goodness Michif, because the language gives you a nation, a culture, and a family life. That's what that Michif language gives you. Like if you were to ask someone else, like maybe here in Saskatchewan, if you an example being, if it's a German or Ukrainian or whatever, and then you just ask them, what are you? And they say, well, I'm German. And what makes you German? They can't say it. They can't say what makes you German, whereas we can say what makes us a Michif is our language, because nation, culture, and family is what our Métis language gives us. So we can answer if anybody ever asks us, what makes you Michif? Yeah. And that's why it is so very, very important. Our Michif language is so very, very important. We just about lost our Michif language a couple years ago. And thank goodness who helped us was Gabriel Demont Institute from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. They're the ones that pushed the language and hired people and did everything they could to keep the language alive, and we pulled it through. But it's all mostly older people that speak the language, and we lose old Michif speakers, maybe 1 or 2 a year. They're gone. And if this keeps up, all of us leaving this old world, then our language is going to leave with us. And I do not want that. I do not want that. It just hurts my heart to think about losing our language. I can't. That is why we try so hard to pass this on to a younger generation. And once they know how to speak good Michif, they will take over our jobs, and they in turn will teach the younger folks, and they will teach the coming children that are not born yet, and keep our Michif language alive. I pray that someone is going to come along and be able to speak the language and carry it on, revitalize the language. I will close down. I sang you some songs. I told you some stories, but the most important thing is the language. Please carry on the language. The younger folks go to language schools, Michif language schools, hang out with your kokom and speak in Michif. That is one thing we can't lose. And bonjour, Meritenoma equipe witihia uma epic square. I thank you, Lord Jesus, for helping us being strong and to continue revitalizing our beautiful language that you have given us. Akwama kwechumitan bonjour, shikara toinan. Shokshia, Equa, Lijano, Chikishnamaya, Hutan, she speaks Squitchikamitif. Namoenute, Wanikananoma, and Wanehtaya, Umalalanka, Kimia, Shamkatawashin, Conmay Duan Bonju, Marsi Kititin, Chikaha Tawia, Ekoma no Shemu Kishika Katawashin. Exe, how, exe.